Greetings and welcome to the Oak Grove podcast. We are here in Atlanta, Georgia. My name is Elizabeth Loughran, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at Oak Grove United Methodist Church. I'm joined by two very special guests today, Finn and Elizabeth. So we have two Elizabeths. Hopefully you won't confuse us. And we are going to be talking about Christmas. Do you guys want to say hello?
Hello. Hi.
We're going to get to know more about them soon, but let me tell you a little bit more about what our podcast is about. So in this series, we've been hearing from different children, hearing about their favorite things about Christmas, what they love, favorite family traditions. And then we've also been learning a little bit about the Christmas story through different people in the Christmas story. And in today's podcast, we're going to hear about the Magi. So stay tuned and we'll find out what Finn and Elizabeth think about the Magi. And let's get to know them now. So Finn, would you tell us what grade you're in and tell us about your family.
I'm in the third grade, and when I'm at home, my sister fights me a lot.
All right. And Elizabeth, you want to share about your grade and a little bit about your family?
I'm in third grade, and I have my mom and dad and two crazy dogs.
Two crazy dogs. What are their names?
Ruby and Milton.
Ruby and Milton. They get along okay?
Yes.
That's nice. Do you dress them up in Christmas outfits?
Ruby or Milton doesn't like to get dressed up, but when I was younger, I used to put headbands on Milton.
All right. So we are talking about Christmas today, and I would love to hear what are some of your favorite things about Christmas. I'll start, actually. I'll share my favorite thing. And one of my favorite things is food. I look forward to all of the things that get baked at Christmas. For some reason, we only bake certain things at Christmas and not the rest of the year. I don't know if that happens at your house, but my mom would make these potato chip cookies. Have you ever had potato chip cookies?
No.
Well, I have only had them when she's made them, and she's only ever made them at Christmas. And they are so yummy. I hope she makes some this year. So what kinds of things are you loving about Christmas?
I love the gifts, the stockings, and the time I can spend with my family.
Very nice. You want to say more about why you love the gifts?
Because they're like candy, toys, stuff kids would like.
Okay. And you were telling us earlier before we started about some of the favorite things you've gotten in your stocking.
I have gotten like a humongous candy cane full of Skittles.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, those are really good.
How long did it take you to eat all those Skittles?
Like 2 hours.
Wow.
You just ate them.
Were you ready for a nap, or were you wound up after that?
I just ate them.
You just ate them. It was just a normal day. I think if I ate all those Skittles, I would be running in circles for the rest of the day. Well, how about you, Elizabeth? What do you love about Christmas?
I like on Christmas Eve when I go over to my uncle's house and we eat a lot of food and we have this gingerbread house contest and the presents on Christmas Day.
That sounds fun. Have you ever won the gingerbread contest?
Well, it was kind of like second, and third thing, but I think I've gotten third and second before.
That's exciting. Do you have a big plan before you go?
We would usually just go there. The dogs would be crazy. And we would have this long prayer, take a lot of pictures, and then eat a lot of food, and then the gingerbread contest.
So it comes at the end.
Yes.
Do you already have a plan for this year's gingerbread house?
I don't know yet.
Do you kind of just make it up when you get there? Yeah? You're just creative and you just put it together in the moment?
Yeah. We make a lot, and there's also like a lot of candy that we put on. And I guess that the candy that we don't use goes to the kids.
So maybe if you don't use a lot of candy, you get to eat more?
Yeah.
There could be a good reason maybe to not use a lot then. So why do you think people love Christmas so much?
Because it's Jesus' birthday and Christmas.
I just think it's because of the gifts.
Because of the gifts. Is it nice to get gifts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you like to give gifts too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I almost spend like all my allowance to get a lot of gifts for my mom and dad.
Oh, that's really sweet.
My mom took me to get my dad's, and then I had to find a time to get one for my mom.
That's really sweet. As a mom, that's sweet for me to be able to hear. How about you, Finn? Do you have special people you like to buy gifts for? Or make gifts for?
Well, not really. I just get gifts. I don't really make them, but I would give gifts if I could. But even though I get $10 per week if I do all my chores, I just spend it.
All right. Are we ready to hear a little bit from the Bible about Christmas?
Yes.
All right. So in this podcast, which is our very last podcast of the season, we are going to hear about the Magi. And the Magi are the people who come to visit Jesus after he's born. We're going to hear it in 2 sections, and it's going to be from what book of the Bible?
Matthew.
Very good. And what chapter?
2.
Very good.
After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the territory of Judea during the rule of King Herod, Magi came from the east to Jerusalem. They asked, "Where is the newborn king of the Jews? We've seen his star in the east, and we come to honor him." When King Herod heard this, he was troubled, and everyone in Jerusalem was troubled with him. He gathered all the chief priests and all the legal experts and asked them where the Christ was to be born. They said, "In Bethlehem of Judea." This is what the prophet wrote.
Thank you.
Herod I secretly called for Magi and found out from them that the time when the star had first appeared, he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search carefully for the child. When you found him, report to me so that I may go and honor him." When they heard the king, they went and looked. The star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until they stood over a place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. Then they entered the house and saw the child with Mary, his mother. Falling to their knees, they honored him. Then they opened their treasure chests and presented him with gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Because they were warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they went back to their own country by another route.
That was excellent. You guys did such a good job. So I know it's hard sometimes to listen while you're reading because, well, you're reading, right? So let's talk a little bit about what we just heard. So we know that Jesus is born in Bethlehem, and there's this king named Herod, and he's asking about, who is going to be the newborn king of the Jews. He's thinking Jesus is going to be kind of a competition for him, I think, right? And the Magi are saying that they've seen this star and they want to honor him. And then what do you think, what's going on in the rest of the story after that?
They heard Herod was just wanting them to greet him and then bring him to Bethlehem so Herod could meet him.
Herod wanted to meet him, and he wanted to do some other stuff too. What did Herod want to do?
Herod wanted to see Jesus.
Well, he wanted to see him, but he didn't really want him to stay around. He wasn't very happy that Jesus was around. So he was hoping that he could make Jesus go away, right? He wasn't really a fan.
Go to another kingdom.
Or just kind of, he was thinking he might even just hurt him. So he was not a very nice person, King Herod. He was thinking of himself and his kingdom, and he didn't want to share it, right? And so...
Any more intruders.
Huh?
With any other people.
Yeah, he didn't. But Jesus wasn't that kind of a king, was he? So then we have the Magi who come in, and what are they doing in our story?
They're giving treasures to Jesus.
They gave Jesus gold, frankincense, and myrrh and honored him.
They did. And then one of my favorite parts of the story, it says they fall on their knees. Why do you think they fall on their knees?
Because they're trying to worship him.
Yeah.
Worship him.
Have you ever walked in on someone or something and just been like, whoa, and you just fell on your knees because it was just so incredible?
Yeah.
You have? Yeah. What made you do that, Finn?
I'm just like, whoa.
Is that what happens on Christmas morning when you walk downstairs?
Sometimes.
No, I wake up at 3 o'clock.
Oh, you wake up at 3 o'clock?
Yes.
Can we talk about the story a little more?
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things I don't think we've talked about yet is the star. Have you ever looked up and found a star and then tried to follow it?
Sometimes.
Does it seem like it would be easier or hard?
Hard. Because, like, if you keep going and going, you're basically just circling the star.
I just toss the rock up and see if it touches the star.
Did it?
No.
Oh.
Like, too far away. 37 or something more miles.
You know, I was in third grade when I got a telescope. I actually got a telescope for Christmas when I was in third grade. I'm so glad I magically remembered that at this particular moment. But I for some reason, wasn't able to use it until the summertime. I don't remember exactly why, but I remember it was summer. I was finally able to go out and look at some stars and planets, and I couldn't believe what they looked like through the telescope. Have you ever looked at stars through a telescope?
Yeah, I got a telescope for my birthday, and
I'm just look at close-up pictures from microscopes.
Okay. So sort of the same idea, but a different instrument.
yeah.
So the thing that I remember when I looked through the telescope is I thought they would sort of look the same, and they really looked different. They almost had funny little shapes and edges to them.
It's like some stars are bigger and smaller.
So what do we think that this star might have looked like?
Big.
This star
very big and like shaped kind of as a cross.
was like a sun, but like one size smaller.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So it would be a pretty noticeable thing, you think?
Yeah.
So a lot of people probably saw the star. It just sounds like not a lot of people knew what it meant, right?
Some people might have gotten it mixed up with the moon.
They may have gotten it mixed up. Yeah, because the Magi were kind of like scientists, right? This was their science of their time. They were looking up at the sky, looking at the stars, and watching how things moved around and using that to help them understand the world. So if we don't look up at the stars to try to understand how things work, how do we kind of do that today? How do you do that today?
We would use like a clock, but if it was a little more back then, they would stick a stick in the ground and see the part where the shadow went.
Yeah. And what if we wanted to understand just how, not so much like the time of day, but maybe like how did God work in the world with people?
He probably communicated people in their sleep.
In their sleep? Do you think God does that today?
Maybe sometimes.
So in our story that we were reading, God communicated to the Magi through this star.
Yeah.
Right? And you were saying things like you were thinking God sometimes talks to us with our thoughts, or God puts people or things in our path. Elizabeth, you were talking about that. And so I'm wondering if there are other ways that you can imagine. Maybe you've heard other people share about, or
he does talk to us like about our actions.
Mhm.
And like if you're praying to him, you can probably kind of hear him when you're doing nothing and it's really quiet.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Being quiet is a good way to hear, right? I do think God talks to us a lot, and sometimes we don't always listen. Or sometimes God is trying to say, hey, look at this star up in the sky. But only the Magi seem to pay any attention. So I have kind of one last question. I'm wondering, how does the church help us hear from God?
Well, when the kids go to Sunday school, they learn about the Bible and know that God made the Bible with what is in the Bible and what you can read about in the Bible.
They'll learn that God is the creator of us and the creator of all the animals and plants out there.
He basically made everything that can make us survive if we're alone and that we need, except for like electronics and stuff.
On the 8th day, God made a Nintendo Switch. I don't think that verse is in there,
No.
right?
Actually, I feel like it should be.
It should be.
Actually, electronics are technically naturally made because they have like pieces of gold inside of them. Like
Oh,
small
cool.
pieces of gold.
So they have one of the gifts of the Magi in them.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the Nintendo Switch is kind of like a gift of the Magi?
Yeah.
A little bit. Only if it's like gifted on your birthday or on Christmas.
Well, I love hearing about how the Bible helps us know God. Have you ever encountered any people or groups of people at church that help you know God?
Yeah.
Sunday school teachers.
Yeah, Sunday school.
When I got my Deep Blue Kids Bible,
Mhm.
So it had like more words and it was more describing than the easier Bibles.
Mm-hmm. This Bible right here. Right? Yeah.
You could read it more and have more details than the Bible that the younger kids would use.
Right. The storybook Bible.
Yes.
Yeah. And so in Sunday school, do your teachers help you with trying to go through the Bible? And
Yes.
what's something that you can remember that they helped you with?
They would just like show me things, just like show me like where something is or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, when you both started off the school year, because our third grade year is when we really study the Bible, right? Both of y'all, you had some skills, but you've gotten so many more skills as the year has gone on, right? You're able to look up a lot of things on your own. You know how to find things. Even if you can't find everything all the time, you know how to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great that your teachers have been there to help you with that.
Yeah.
Do you remember telling me a story about the Holy Spirit a few years ago?
Yes.
Both of y'all have actually talked to me about the Holy Spirit. And you had both told me different stories about the Holy Spirit, but how God talked to you about the Holy Spirit. Do you remember any of that?
Like, you can't see him, but you can hear him.
Yeah, sometimes.
I remember nothing. That was like a long time ago.
That's okay. Well, they were good stories, and it was exciting to know that you were experiencing God and you were experiencing the Holy Spirit, because I think God will talk to each of us in different ways, and the way that God talks to you will be different from the way God talks to me and different from the way God talks to Elizabeth, and probably for our listeners too. Do you guys have any last thoughts about Christmas or maybe about the Magi?
Christmas isn't about presents. It's about spending time with your family.
Yes. And about when you're spending time with your family, you're celebrating Jesus' birthday with them.
Yeah. Finn, do you want to say more about what it means to spend time with your family at Christmas?
It means that you are able to be around them. Like, if you can't see them often, you're probably going to be around them.
Mm-hmm. Are there certain family members you guys are looking forward to spending time with?
My grandfather.
My aunt that lives like 1 hour away.
So you don't get to see her as often?
No, only when we go down to my grandfather's farm.
Nice. All right. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Finn, so much for sharing all your thoughts about Christmas, what's important to you about Christmas, and especially about the Magi. We hope that you enjoyed our podcast series on Christmas with children. We hope also that you'll join us in person or online for one of our Christmas Eve services. So on December 24th, our first one will be at 3 p.m., and it is for children, by children in the sanctuary. We have 2 services at 5 p.m., a modern and a traditional, and both of those are streamed. So if you can't join in person, you can listen and watch online. And then our last service that night is going to be is going to be at 8 p.m. in the sanctuary. And if you are going out of town and you want to come celebrate early, you can come to our traveler's service, which is Thursday, December 19th at 6 p.m. in the fellowship hall. Well, you want to say Merry Christmas to everybody?
Merry Christmas!
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.